Okay, so it's 8:05. I think we can get started now. Thank you so much for joining this call. We can go around and kind of introduce ourselves virtually, I suppose. My name is Jessica. I'm a principal for Harvard Undergraduate Capital Partners. I think the other people from HUCP on the call are Brian, Nathan, and Priyanka. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, I'm Priyanka. I'm on the sourcing team for the HUCP.
Hey everyone, I'm Nathan. I'm also on the sourcing team for HUCP.
And then I'm Brian. I'm the director of the sourcing team.
Good. Yeah, so again, thank you so much for coming out tonight. It will be recorded. This will be up on harvardcap.org/fund. I think the link's in the chat. So I'm not sure what the concentration of grad students to undergrads is in this call right now. So I think we were going to go over a brief history of HUCP, kind of what it does, and then dive into details for the Innovation Fund, if that's good. We'll definitely have time for questions near the end. So yeah, if you want to go on to the next slide, I can kind of talk a little bit about what HUCP does. Okay, so we are Harvard Undergraduate Capital Partners. It's a student pre-professional group at Harvard College, founded about a year and a half ago at this point, on the basis of the idea that university entrepreneurial ecosystems face a connectivity issue, in the sense that VC firms need to invest a lot of time and money into accessing sort of campus innovation networks, in addition to just the large amount of rote diligence work they have to face every day. Students, for their part, don't really have many opportunities to do high-level investment work with startups, and a lot of college-aged founders don't have resources to access good investors. And if you go on to the next page, this is kind of our mission statement. We're changing the way that college students experience venture capital, sort of by making it accessible to both university founders and aspiring investors. And I think Nathan will go on to talk a little bit more about our initiatives.
Yeah, so if we go on to the next slide. Yeah, so we were only founded 1 year ago. We've made a lot of progress in terms both of impact and of magnitude, I guess, on the campus. So in terms of growth in members, we've grown two times, each semester, and we're now at a good 36 members. We've sourced over 100 startups, 3 campuses, Harvard, MIT, and Northeastern, and more to come soon. And we have over 40 investment partners with a combined AUM of more than $11 billion. And this just is a product of the fact of the good work that everyone on the team has been doing. Yeah, and so a lot of our VC partners are big names in the space, Sequoia, General Catalyst, Bessemer, but also a lot of our members also have found opportunities at a lot of these firms. And so it's really great for many of our VC partners to sort of get into the campus scene in terms of startups on campus, but also for us to get information from them about what exactly they're looking for and sort of establish that working relationship. And then in terms of our model, so sort of the central model is the two sort of sides of the club, diligence and sourcing. And so Brian, Priya, and I are all on the sourcing team, and Jessica's on the diligence team. And so while those sort of comprise the two sort of epicenters of the club, we also have several initiatives, and we're also thinking of more as we speak. So whether it's expanding to different universities, this innovation fund, the innovation forum, which is sort of this group of discussion where everyone across campus, sort of student leaders across campus can discuss innovations on sort of this online forum, and as well as an entrepreneurship board, which is sort of in the same vein. But this specific initiative is the HUCP Innovation Fund.
So before we get into kind of an overview of the fund itself, I'm going to hand it over to Brian really quickly for him to talk about how this all came together.
Thanks, Pri. So I've been with the group for 3 semesters, and I've had the pleasure of working with Nathan, Pri, and Jessica. At the beginning, when we started the sourcing team, we really had one goal, and it was to help connect promising Harvard entrepreneurs with investors across the country that they might not be able to connect with otherwise. Along that process, after working with now over 100 startups, we've seen startups from a diversity of backgrounds, from founders, diversity of industries, and importantly, a diversity of stages. We noticed that there's a lot of need, particularly at the early stage, for like catalyzing funds for people that just have an idea that's yet to be proven out. And after speaking with a lot of these founders that have now become like close friends with the organization, we've learned firsthand that some sort of like funding at the very beginning can go a long way to help these founders. So just based off of that, we wanted to give back to startups that have helped give us so much.
Exactly. So Brian kind of explained this, but we've definitely realized that a lot of the current infrastructures in place don't really support early stage startups within our ecosystem. And that's something that we hope that the Innovation Fund can help with and kind of push us in the direction of some of the other universities who are really doing a great job of supporting early stage entrepreneurs. So for the Innovation Fund itself, what we hope to offer you is, a comprehensive grant and mentorship program that will allow you to turn your solutions and the products that you have into sustainable startups that we hope will continue to prosper even past the duration of the grant incubation period. So first off, we will be offering the equity-free grants, which will be up to $5K. So half of that money will be given upfront if you are chosen as a finalist. And then after 1 month, we will check in with you through a series of calls, and you would fill out a kind of a grant impact form. And then at that time, if we've decided that you have made enough progress, we will give you the rest of the grant. In addition to the equity fee grant, we want to make sure that you really feel part of the HUCP community. And we hope to do this by establishing a cohort of the fellow founders and the Innovation Fund who are also chosen as a finalist. So what we hope to do is offer a platform for you to interact with these other founders through meetups and calls and different events. And at the end of the day, we hope that this will be an opportunity for us to provide you with more than just capital. We will also be hosting special mentorship programs, such as kind of specialized seminars and professional development offerings, as well as fireside chats with some of our large investor network from the VCs and the angel clients that we have. In addition, we will keep you updated with this, but we're trying to also make sure that you have enough partnerships with other major development platforms so that you can really stretch your funding as far as possible. And we're looking into ways to get ASW credits and other software platforms as well. As for what the criteria is, we're looking at 3 main areas. The first being your idea. So we want you to have an ambitious idea that solves an important issue, but also possesses a concrete solution and action plan. That being said, we recognize that because we are starting and targeting also very early stage startups, it's okay if you don't necessarily have a minimum viable product ready yet, or if you're still trying to get your startup off the ground. What we really care about seeing at the end of the day is a diligent, put together plan that highlights step by step how you want to get from where you are now to successfully being able to solve your issue that you are trying to address. In addition, we're going to be highlighting and kind of looking at the team that you've put together. It's really important that you have at least one Harvard-affiliated founder. And in your application, please be sure to highlight the personal investment and buy-in that your team has. What really motivates you and drives you to take up this project? What's your technical ability and what's your entrepreneurial vision? Make sure to also tell us how HUCP can fit into your team. At the end of the day, we want this to be a partnership, so let us know what we can do to help support you and what you're hoping to get out of this grant program. Even beyond the equity-free grant that we're providing. Is there specific mentorship that you're hoping with a VC? Are you trying to learn more about marketing or raising capital in the future? How can we help you, and how can we help you succeed in the future? And that brings us on to our last criteria, being your vision. We really want you to create a clear outline of the solution development over this grant period, keeping in mind that this grant period will formally last 3 months, but we also want you to expand in your application where you see yourself going after these 3 months are over. Really break down for us how you hope that these funds will fill the gap to get from where you are now to where you hope to be, and be as specific as possible in our application. If you need $500 for legal fees, another $200 for software licenses, and maybe $700 for your hardware parts, let us know that and really break that down for us so we can see where exactly you see the money going and how you have created a diligent plan to support this vision that you have created for yourself. In terms of the application timeline, the initial application is a form, which you can find on that bit.ly link, and that will be due next Wednesday at 11:59. And so the form includes some short free responses, as well as a video upload where you talk about yourself and explain your team. That can be through like a YouTube link or like a Google Drive link. So just keep that in mind that there will be a video component. After we review the initial application, we will contact you for, if you're chosen as a semifinalist, for Zoom interviews, and those will happen over that 3-day period and last about 30 minutes as well. And then we will release grant decisions on the 19th. And then in late April, we'll have our first onboarding call. This is where you will meet the other members of your cohort, get to know the HUCP team, and we'll talk about how the rest of the grant period will play out. And then we'll have our 1 month check-in in about late May, which is when we'll distribute the rest of the funds. Before I move on, I'm going to send you a link in the chat, which will cover guidelines for what the use of funds will be. So you can check that out. But beyond that, that's a basic overview of what we hope that the Innovation Fund will offer. And now we'd love to open it up for questions. And feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi, this is Kate. I have a quick question. So should we think about the grant as a $5,000 grant and that's the number that we should apply for? Or do you consider that a range based on need? Because that was something that was unclear to me in the application.
Sure. So yes, so we're offering up to 5,000, but it's definitely going to be based on need. So if you can be specific with us about like what specifically you hope to use it for, that will help determine how we can allocate those funds in the best way possible to the people who demonstrate that they need it the most.
Okay, thank you.
And Pri, maybe if I could add on there, I think the idea of like filling a gap is very important. I think Northeastern has a similar fund that they just call the gap fund for moving from like point A to point B. So if there's like demonstrated sort of like catalyst based on that amount of money that you request, that's the best for us assessing apps.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question. So because on need, do you have an exact number of how many finalists there are going to be, or is it just depending on what applications you have?
It's going to be depending on the applications that we get in, and we'll make an assessment after reviewing the applications.
Okay, thank you. And I also was just wondering in general, who's supplying this fund?
Yeah, I can take that one. So this is HUCP sponsored.
Yeah, but like, who are you guys? Did you guys raise the money from a particular like VC firm who's like providing like the capital, or like how did you go about getting the fund money?
Yeah, this is so HUCP generates revenue, and then this is just the revenue that HUCP generates. Okay. Part of it allocated to this. Okay. Yeah, we think it's important for us to take the first step in recognizing that giving back is really important. So this is our initiative to do that.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
How early stage do you expect, or can the startup be? And then how big do you expect the team to be?
So it can be pretty early stage, as we mentioned. We just want to make sure at the end of the day that you have put together a plan and can demonstrate to us what steps you're going to be taking. We do expect to see a diversity of applications covering the Harvard startup space, but like we said, and we hope to be able to support any of the startups who come our way and apply to the fund. And in terms of the team, we don't necessarily have a like a quota that we want you to fill, as long as you can explain to us, you know, how your team functions and where you see the strengths between each of the team members, and how you hope that team will help your vision going on in the future.
Yeah, and then maybe just adding on to that, I guess I imagine from just like maybe seeing companies in the past that are sort of at this stage where this amount of money would be helpful. I don't anticipate that there would be more than like 3 people on the team, but of course we're not going to like necessarily discriminate based on like the team size, but I just anticipate realistically there won't be more than 3 people.
Hi guys, this is Ryan from Conduit. I just wanted to know, what made you guys get involved in something like this? This is really great. This is a great idea. So I just want to know what was kind of your guys' motivation, also maybe experience with either VC or the startup world that kind of led you into this or impacted your decision to join this organization.
Yeah, sure. So I can take this, and then I definitely would love to have Jessica and Nathan contribute as well. But I think one of the main motivations for us starting this fund is that, especially with Nathan and I working on the sourcing side, is that when we would go to startups and work with them, especially if they were, you know, at this really early stage, we would notice that they definitely were struggling to find the same support that might have been offered at places like MIT and Stanford to kind of get themselves into the ecosystem and find that support and mentorship right off the ground. And another thing is that, you know, within HUCP, when we would pass on or encounter some of these startups, they might not have been the right fit for the VCs that we were sending these companies to, but they would be a perfect fit for something like this grant program to help them get to the place where they can be, so that they can continue to kind of like filter into the HUCP network. And then we would be able to kind of get these startups from that place where they're starting to a place where we can pass them on to the VCs that we work with too. And so we really hope that this is going to be an opportunity to give back to an ecosystem that has really done a lot for HUCP as well, and given us a chance to meet so many amazing people and explore so many different cool startups and get to learn about their stories.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's interesting because since I don't work on sourcing team like Pri and Brian and Nathan, I don't actually get to interact with startups themselves very often. I think this is a really amazing way to offer maybe earlier stage founders not just like funding, which is already in and of itself pretty hard to find, but mentorship and just kind of the resources that our organization has been lucky enough to build up over the last year. I think it really just takes like a village, and we're just giving back.
Yeah, I think Brian talked about filling gaps, and I think not only does this fill a gap in many sort of early stage startups at Harvard, but it also sort of fills the gap in that graph we sort of showed, where in like Stanford, MIT, other colleges might have something at this early stage that would help a startup in like these very sort of angel stages of investment, and like that just doesn't exist at Harvard. And it's sort of a disservice to the community that is, like Pri said, helped us so much. And so we just really want to give back.
Great. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Hello. In order to apply for this program, do you need to have the company incorporated?
No, you don't. You don't have to.
Okay.
Describe the requirements for the pitch deck?
Yeah, sure. So this is kind of like where we want you to explain, you know, what motivated you to start the fund, what progress you've made so far, explain who's on your team and what kind of positions they fill in helping you carry out your vision, and also explain to us, you know, that vision that you have and where you hope to see the fund going and what your ultimate goal is for your startup. if there are any other questions, feel free to let us know. But if you don't have a question, or if you have a question that comes up later on, feel free to shoot us an email at fund@harvardcap.org. And you can also check out the website that we have for the application page, and then also the more details on what the Innovation Fund entails. And so I think I sent that out earlier, but it's harvardcap.org/fund. That'll have a recording of this meeting, as well as some of the guidelines, and once again, the link to the use of funds. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming. Are there any last questions that we can help answer?
Yeah, so how much proof of concept are you expecting in the application?
So if you do have something like a minimal viable product, or like an early development of, like, say, your app or your software, for example, we would definitely love to see that, or an explanation of what you've done so far. We would like to see an explanation of the progress that you have made and the steps that you are taking right now to help you gear up to getting your startup off the ground. But beyond that, it really depends on the idea that you have, and how eloquently you explain to us how you are planning on executing those steps to successfully, achieve that vision that you have. So it can definitely really depend.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Yep. So I just finished high school. I'm a Peruvian student, and I have been admitted to Princeton and Stanford, and I don't know still where I'm going to go. And I wanted to know, I have a startup, and I would like to know if, for my position, if I can participate.
Currently, we're only allowing the fund to be allocated towards Harvard-affiliated students.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. Yes, like I said, if you have any last questions, feel free to let us know, or feel free to send us an email. And yes, good luck with everything. Vasilius, do you have a question? I see that your mic's unmuted. Okay, great. Well, thank you all for coming, and good luck with applications.